You guys ready to get started? Yeah. All right. Well, good morning. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is something new that we're doing this year. It's called the DJS VAULT Live. I tried real hard to make it look like we were all sitting together in the photo. My graphics game is not good, but here we all are. I'm Joe Bunn. This is Mr. Jason Jani, and that is Mike Walter. And welcome to Pro Tips from the Pros. So it's going to be pretty loose today, pretty informal. I think I made the slides about 30 minutes ago. Just going to give you guys, because I know there's some first-time attendees here. There's some people that have been following us for a while here. Just going to give a brief introduction of each of us, and then I have three kind of high-level topics that I want to touch on. And then we're going to open it up to you guys. So just anything DJ business related, let's kind of try and keep it between the ditches, as they say in the South. Hopefully I'll get a word in today. You got a redneck from North Carolina and two guys from Jersey. We'll see how it goes. But my name is Joe Bunn. I own Bunn DJ Company. The DJS VAULT is my membership platform where I teach other DJs around the world how to hopefully successfully run a business. Jana and I do a conference called the DJ Collective. Mike and I did the PhDJ podcast for 5+ years. I build DJ booths. I'm co-founder of Crate Hackers and other things. But I'm gonna let these guys kind of tell you a little bit about themselves, and then we'll get into the topics and not bore you with too many stories today. Do you want to try the press conference, Mike? You seem excited.
No, it works. It works.
Okay.
No, yeah, I think I need this one.
I think I need this one.
Okay.
I think I'm better with this one. My name is Jason Jani. I started a company called the SE Event Group a long time ago. Working DJ, done a lot of things in a lot of cool places. Super proud of. I'm a big fan of Joe Bunn, and equally as, actually I might be even a bigger fan of Mike Walter because he's just a legend. So I just feel blessed to be in this room with everyone. But yeah, I live in Howell, but we're based in Wall, New Jersey, which is about 15 minutes if you drive slowly, and the speed limit between Mike and I. But these two are some of my closest friends in the business, and I'm just happy to share whatever I can today with whatever topics Joe pulls up on this slideshow.
Yes,
today.
sir.
Which we weren't prepared for.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike. I own Elite Entertainment. If you were here on Monday, you pretty much heard my entire life story, so I don't need to rehash that. But yeah, if anybody is worried about competition in your market, I think Jason and I are two examples of how you don't need to worry. If you wake up every morning and bring your game, it's actually healthy having a company as powerful and as strong as SCE and Elite 15 minutes apart, because it just makes you wake up every morning and bring it. So don't worry about the competition, embrace the competition. We're better for having neighbors of SCE, and I hope they're better for having us, and that's all I can say.
Real quick, I just got to tap in on that, and I feel like that's going to be the flow of today because that's just how it goes. But it's so funny that so many people still deal with the competition thing, because I feel like whenever I've had like an issue, I've had like zero problems reaching out to Mike, being like, Mike, how do I handle this? Or do you have someone available? Because we've gotten ourselves in a jam, and I think that should just reinforce what you just said.
Yeah, there's the friendship part of it and the advice part of it, but then there's also just a very practical, hey, we're out of uplights this weekend, do you have anything? Or, we're overbooked on photo booths, and to be able to just pick up a phone and call somebody who I know can cover it professionally is fantastic.
I wake up every day blessed to not be from New Jersey. Hold it! Jesus, let me finish the statement! I finished the statement! Have a seat! Here's why! Because there is so much talent in the state of New Jersey that I would rather be in North Carolina. Thank you, Jesus. Calm down! Oh, y'all. Calm down!
What was the saying you used, between the ditches?
I'm just kidding.
You almost landed in the ditch.
You didn't let me finish. People got too crazy too early. Listen, calm down. It's too much talent here. I mean, I'm telling you that I know so many DJs from here, and it's crazy up here. So thank you. Yeah, hey, I like it up here. I love it up here. So
there's a lot of pinelands in Jersey.
I can't be here. I gotta be in North Carolina. So, before I started the DJ's Vault in 2019, we did a lot of surveying. We still do it. I'm sorry you get bombarded with our emails. You can blame Dominic, he's not here, but feel free to be mad at him for the amount of emails. But what it has allowed us to do is to be able to survey DJ company owners like yourselves, and it always circles back to these three true problem areas. Hiring, and we'll file retention in there with that, marketing your company, and then how you sell. And so I felt like that was the best three topics at the highest level to tackle today. And then, like I said, we'll try and leave like a half hour at the end to where you guys will be able to speak loudly, hopefully, and everybody will be able to hear your question. And then you can even just say, hey, Jason, this is for you, or hey, Mike, this is for you. But let's talk a little bit about hiring. Mike, I'm gonna start with you because I think this is why this is gonna work so well, is because we all do things in a different way. So I kind of feel like I threw this in last second, didn't tell you about it, but don't worry about that. I want to know like what's currently working for you, finding talent first, Mike, and then what you think your kind of secret sauce is for retention. Because you put the slide up Monday, there were 5-6 guys on there that had been there 20 plus years or decades with Elite. So first, how are you finding people, and then secondly?
So when Joe says that I do things a little bit differently than Jason and Joe, what he's referring to is my ideal recruit has no DJing experience. These two gentlemen would rather find somebody who's been in the game for a while. They can mold them to kind of fit what's going to work in their company. So that's why it's a little bit different that way. Not that I won't hire somebody who has DJing experience, but my ideal recruit is somebody who has a great personality, outgoing, good look, loves music, loves people, and has little to zero experience ever touching. Now it's a much smaller, it's a much longer process because I have to get them in and integrate them and train them. But I believe at the end of the day, after that 6 to 12 month process of training, I've got somebody who just fits my mold perfectly. Where am I finding people? The two biggest ways, I put ads on Craigslist all the time, and it's a cattle call, and I get a ton of people that don't work out in those situations, but I find plenty of gems every once in a while. My mom, who's in the room, used to say you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince, and I'm not the gay brother, so that was more for Mark than for me. But it's the same thing with recruitment. You have to interview a lot of people before you find that gem, and I'm willing to do it. And then the other way is I'm constantly reminding my staff, hey, if you know anybody who you think would fit in, let them, bring them to me. If it doesn't work out, it's not going to be a bad mark for you. I think that's why sometimes people don't recommend somebody, because they're like, my friend's cool, but he's a little flighty and I don't want it to look bad. But I mean, I can think of 2 current superstars on staff that came to me via other people on staff that were like, hey, I think my friend, Ryan would work out, and now he's a superstar. So constantly be reminding your staff, hey, we're looking for people. If you know anybody, let me know.
What about the retention thing?
And I could spend the rest of the hour on retention. Treat your people well, pay them a legitimate wage, work with people who you can trust. I always say if you can't trust somebody who's on your payroll with your house keys, then you shouldn't trust them doing a wedding. I would trust anyone who works for me. I would say, hey, here's my house keys, go to my house, pick this up. I would have no problem with that. If you have somebody on your staff that you wouldn't trust with that, then why are you trusting them to weddings? So find people that you have a bond with, build that trust with them. Knock wood, I have not had an issue in the last 20-ish years with DJs leaving me to go be my competition. People leave, and I talked about that on Monday. DJs, there's always attrition. Somebody's gonna get out of the business, somebody's gonna move away. There are other ways that people leave you, but leaving you to say, screw you, I'm going down the street to be your competition, I can't guarantee you can avoid it, but if you treat people well and fairly and pay them comparably, they're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Can I make one more point about that? Everybody complains about millennials and how much they don't want to work. And I disagree with that. There are plenty of millennials who have the hustle and have the game. But if there's one advantage to that, a millennial leaving you to open up their own company is much less likely, because there's a ton of work involved in that, and I think they know it. And so I think millennials, if you create that environment for them, they're much more likely to stay.
Jana, you were on.
I was on.
Yes, sir.
Is this thing on? Is this on? Okay.
It's on.
Alright, I gotta figure out how to use this thing. Okay, yeah, so I think the cool thing about like Mike, Joe, and myself is anything that we're gonna share with you today just should essentially reinforce the fact that there's not just one way to do anything, right? I think that regardless of the business model or the training process or the things that we do, everyone can be successful in their own space, their way, as long as they do whatever they're sharing with you, right? So I think like, you know, like in contrast to what Mike had just shared, I wish I had the ability of grooming someone from the ground up with zero experience. Unfortunately, some of the things that we've done and have become known for in our lane of this very complicated space that we all share, you know, I think the onboarding process might still take a year for me to bring someone that's dialed in and knowledgeable, but I prefer to go after or to pull in people that are already established, that already understand how to mix, that maybe are making the jump from the nightlife world into the private event space. To me, that's been a little bit easier because I feel like it dials into maybe more of my personal background and some of my experience, you know, angles. I think in terms of like retention, one thing that I've learned as a business owner for now, as long as we've been around, is people really, I think, will stay as long as you treat them with respect, as well as I think you have to give people the ability of thriving, not surviving. And I think, you know, it all comes down to dollars and cents, and everyone needs something different in their life, but I think it's super important to always understand like what's motivating someone, taking the time to meet with people that are in your space and asking them what they want out of the business, what they're looking for the next year, what do they need to sustain their lifestyle and to be happy. And whether it's the number of events or the dollars and cents at the end of the year, you know, your job as a business owner is to essentially to put wind in the sails, to keep people moving forward. And, you know, I think things that I've done to kind of reinforce that is, you know, at the beginning of every year, we have this email that goes out, and it essentially gives everyone the rules of engagement. Like, in order to stay with SCE, here's like the dollars and cents, here's how things are basically broken out, here's how we're gonna be spending our money, because I feel that the area of financials is usually the most complicated and controversial topic for a lot of people that work for businesses. They don't understand where the money's going or how they can work for this, but the event is making this. And I think addressing these things is super important. And I think just giving people the opportunity of thriving in their space, owning their own brand, being their own individual underneath a company portfolio is what I found to be like the most, I guess, important thing for retention. And I think for me, for hiring is like, I don't know, I feel like I usually have a lot of success when I do like posts on social and I'm like, we're looking for someone, you know, whatever. I do those all the time, trying to just bring people into our business. We will go to the friend network in terms of like our team for some of the support roles, whether it's like supporting DJ events or the photo booth business, but I feel like I've always had a lot of success sharing content on social media, saying like we're looking for a new host, we have, you know, opportunities here for people, or, you know, sometimes people come to the table just like, hey, we're looking for work. That's my time to stop.
Yeah, just real quickly, kind of ditto everything they said. I've had a lot of luck finding people still on Craigslist, paid listings on Indeed. I think there's always a link on our website that says now hiring. So I'm always trying to be more DJs than I'm trying to hire more DJs than I really need. And then when I onboard them or when I interview them, I kind of tell them, hey, look, you'll eventually move up the ladder. You're not going to be working next weekend. So those are my probably 3 key ways. I mean, I'm super lucky in that, you know, Raleigh in North Carolina is consistently on that top 10 list in all the magazines of places to move. So I get a lot of people from up here, from even Florida, across the country that move to North Carolina. that we're DJing somewhere else, and then, you know, they'll Google Raleigh Wedding Company or Raleigh Wedding DJs and usually end up seeing us. Company culture is super important to me. I mean, one of the things I learned from Mike probably 20 years ago was the importance of having, whether you do it monthly or quarterly, meetings with the staff, whether it's in person or now on Zoom. We can get all 20 DJs on a Zoom call. In person, we can usually get about 14 or 15. Taking them out, you know, for holiday dinners, renting out movie theater and watching a movie, going bowling, laser tag, go-karts, like we've done all those things. And then, you know, at the top of it all, please just pay your people well and pay them, you know, the day after the show or whenever you do your payroll or direct deposit. I mean, early on in our career, we used to pick up people all the time that just simply were not, you know, getting paid or getting paid with a bounce check. So we'll move on from that. If you have any hiring questions, we'll kind of table those until we come back around. We're gonna move to the next kind of high-level topic, marketing. I'll just say this for all three of us. You know, most of you guys know who we are, what we do, and how long we've been doing it. So we do, I won't take that for granted, get a ton of referrals. A lot of our marketing is word of mouth now. Oh, you did so-and-so's wedding. Oh, you play at the Chateau de Dildo or whatever it's called. Everything up here has a weird name. I'm sorry. Have you been there? I don't know. He's 13. I'm sorry. He's 13.
So my mom is in the room, and Jason's
Your mom's in the
13-year-old
room.
son.
She was at your seminar Monday. You were going ridiculously hard in that. Okay. Sorry, Mom. I love you. So, anyway, man, you messed me up. What are we doing? Okay, marketing. So we get a lot of referrals from venues, vendors, and clients. But talk a little bit, Jason, why don't you go first on this one? Talk a little bit about the things that are still working, things that whether you're spending money on it or not, that are working to get leads coming to SE.
Man, I feel like this topic can go all day, and thank you for acknowledging that word in front of my
Sorry. I thought he was older. He looks 17.
It's gonna be a fun ride home. Hey, Dad, what is?
Yeah, awesome. So I think it's very straightforward. Like, we as DJs are in a position every time you do an event to produce massive amounts of content to essentially extend your brand further to people that are not in the present at your space. I can tell you that the formula for us at SCE has always been and continues to be to produce as much content as possible. And that's in any and every extension of every and any social media platform that exists on the planet today. I can tell you that as a company owner and looking at the leads coming in, one video on TikTok for someone on our team can create more buzz than anything I've ever seen on any other platform and almost every other platform combined. With that said, like, TikTok is probably like my kryptonite. Like, I actually hate going on the platform. Every time I go on it, I start and then I start scrolling and then I'm looking at someone cooking something and then it's a workout thing and then I'm down a rabbit hole of like an hour's time and I don't even know where I just was. And I feel like that's the magic and also the result of the platform. I've also found a lot of success, cultivating content and creating content on platforms that I feel like are non-existent, like Facebook, like LinkedIn, and it's crazy to me that how many options and how many people are on some of these platforms that you think are completely dead and they're still super active. Like, we use Instagram a ton, we use YouTube a ton, we're always trying to push content out into the space wherever we can. And then there's always the paid for play platforms like Wedding Wire and The Knot and venue, referrals and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we try to just put as much content as we can out there. I think that's just been our secret sauce forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of DJ business owners and things like that, and one of the first questions I'll ask is, where do most of your leads come from? And if you don't say word of mouth to me, personal referral, however you want to call it, then, and I'm giving up my game here, so you're all going to say it wherever in this conversation, my first thought is, then you're not a great DJ. Because if you kick ass at your events half of your marketing is already taken care of. Because you will A, generate referrals, and B, banquet people are going to want to work with you. So right there, you know, I remember hearing the 80-20 rule once, that we spend 80% of our effort chasing 20% of the business. Because if you're kicking ass at your events, maybe not 80% of your business, but certainly 2/3 of your leads are coming in just from organically from, oh my God, I saw one of your DJs this weekend, he was awesome, or the banquet hall recommended you because they love having you in there. So if that's 2/3 of your leads, now you gotta fill in the other 30%. And I think we gotta give credit for Jason. Everybody nowadays captures content at their events. And I don't think you were the first, maybe you were, but you were certainly one of the leaders early on. I remember us sitting around at Elite, we always had this thing where if our video company was capturing content, then we had it, but we never thought like, why don't we just send a camera out to the events? And Jason, and I know some of those videos you've taken down because you were embarrassed, they haven't aged well technologically, but they were so cutting edge for their time. And I think Jason, as well as probably some other pioneers back then, showed us like, just bring a camera out. You were calling them what, vlogs or whatever? And it's so, every weekend when we're rocking an event, that's an opportunity. You know, this thing right here is more powerful than a video camera from 25 years ago. You can get better content, so just, you got a packed dance floor, shoot it. It's so easy.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, the thing that, you know, I get messages from time to time from people, and they're like, yeah, you know, I don't have the ability of bringing an RJ to a wedding to shoot with these crazy cameras. Like, nobody needs any of that. Oh, it's just me, I don't have anyone helping me. Like, you don't have to have a phone to do it. You can get a GoPro and put it behind you. I mean, like, some of the best performing pieces of like Jeff Scott, and I'm sure he's gonna talk about this later because he's got his session with Icon, but he did a video where him and Bird were doing a wedding. He set up an old iPhone behind him, and he streamed to, I guess, to TikTok live, and he had over 1,000 people on that because it was popping up as like a viral, and people were sharing it. I mean, the engagement he got from that one video, literally for just turning the camera on and showing what actually happened at a real wedding, that was insane. I mean, it's so easy. There's like no excuse to not do this stuff anymore, because I feel like content is everything. If it's not a focus for you and your business, it needs to be, you know.
Yeah. And I'll just, the only other things that we're doing, you know, social, obviously huge. We do still do the very most basic ads on Wedding Wire and we don't do any of the featured listings or the enhanced listings. But we still do a ton of wedding shows and free events. So if a caterer, you know, that loves us is doing a tasting in their facility, we would go play music for that. We do the only wedding shows we don't do any of the stuff out at the fairgrounds where there's, you know, 1,000 brides over 2 days. Everything is very boutique, so it's at the venue. Maybe 100 brides would come through over 3 or 4 hours, and there would only be one DJ, and it would be us. So we do a ton of those, and just charitable type events where they'll let us put up a pop-up, you know, the turn of a marathon for cancer or something like that. So we do a ton of those, and then social, and then a little bit of paid. But again, I think, like Mike said, like Jason said, the longer you do this and the better you become, the word of mouth and the referrals will carry you.
I was just chuckling here because I had a memory when I was talking about Jason spearheading it. It's probably about 15 years ago you did a seminar here, and you were talking about how important video was in social media, and you said, print is dead. And I remember going, DJ Times is hosting this.
magazine.
You know what I'm saying?
An actual
But
magazine.
You had a point. I mean, print is kind of dead, but don't say it here.
I was just kidding.
So let's talk a little bit about selling, because again, this is going to be something that the three of us do entirely different. I definitely want to talk a little bit to Mike about this to start with. And I kind of know this, but Mike, talk a little bit about the culture of selling. You know, do you let the DJs sell? are you selling, I mean, you have sales managers, like, tell us kind of the hierarchy of how.
Yeah, so most of our sales, I've got 2 people that work in the office that their main focus is sales. They both do about 35 hours a week because they're also DJs on the weekend. They handle the bulk of the leads. I still take a few just from spillover. We do get our DJs involved in the sales process if the client wants to speak to them before booking, which I would say happens about 1/3 of the time. 2/3 of the time, the clients are just fine talking to one of our representatives, looking at some video footage because we've got video footage of all of our DJs, and a lot of our guys are uploading mixes as well, and I talked about that on Monday. The question, can I hear him mix, was 10 years ago, I don't think we ever heard that question.
Yeah.
But nowadays, almost every client, hey, can I hear him or her mix? So, you know, I encourage my DJs to have an active Mixcloud or SoundCloud page. Usually those tools are enough to close them, but sometimes they just wanna hop on a quick 5-10 minute call. One of the reasons, and I know you guys are gonna talk about having your DJs sell directly, one of the reasons why I've always been opposed to that is I don't want somebody's poor sales skills to hold him back as a DJ. Like, I know, I can think of one DJ on staff specifically who we pack his calendar out pretty well. If he had to sell himself, he wouldn't have as many bookings. Because he's a great DJ, but he's, you know, those 2 talent sets might not be, you know, coexist. So I've always preferred to have professional salespeople who are full-time and focused and bring your DJs in only when needed. But that's just my philosophy.
Before you pass off on that, is this still
mostly on Zoom, Mike? I mean, are you getting people to
You
come
know,
back?
I got this really nice office with a nice showroom, and if we have 2 clients a week in that room, it's a lot. I wish, and I was hoping after the pandemic ended that we'd get back to some more face-to-face selling, and we've done it a little bit, but we say to our clients, how would you like to meet face-to-face in our office, Zoom or phone call, and Zoom is just the most common answer. If I did a sales seminar a number of years ago and I made this point, if my closing rate was much different among those 3, then we would, like if a phone call was way down, then we wouldn't even offer it. But our closing rate, once we get you face-to-face or Zoom or phone, our closing rate is right around 70%, 72 face-to-face, 70 Zoom, 68. It's not far enough apart that I'm not gonna offer all 3.
Sure.
But you know, we have Zoom meetings sometimes with clients that are 10 minutes from our office.
same?
They just would rather.
Yep.
And listen, here's the practicality about Zoom meeting. Zoom meetings always start on time, and you can pretty much, they're 20 to 25 minutes face-to-face. I mean, I met with a client recently face-to-face. Thankfully, they were my last appointment of the night. We sat down at 7:30. I looked at my phone at one point, it was like 8:40. Because we were just shooting this stuff. We were just talking.
He's already been polluted at this point.
I would say, 98% of what we do now is Zoom, thanks to the pandemic. And I'm not mad at it. You know, at first I was like, this is terrible. I want everyone to come to the office. But I quickly realized, like, in the Zoom framework, not only do meetings start on time, but, like, it's easier to end them quickly. And I feel like people don't sit around. Like, sometimes people would sit in my office and they're, like, just hanging out. I'm like, all right, I got fucking people coming in. Like, leave. I'm sorry.
Then I'm sorry.
Where's my phone? Sorry.
I'm trying to be respectful. You're a kid.
Justin, but in all due like respect, I mean with all respect, like I think it makes doing appointments a lot easier at scale and over, on the framework of, some of the guys at SE live 2 hours from the office. So like to have them drive 2 hours to sit in the office, to sit with meetings, and then to drive 2 hours home, that's like 4 hours of dead time that, they can't do things. Now, it's like they can work on whatever framework and whatever terms, they need to work around the client's, schedule. And we allow clients to book their appointments. We don't even book their appointments anymore. Like we give them a Calendly link to whoever they're meeting with so that they can pick the times that work for them when they're together on the days that talent is available. So like, it's just relieved a lot of stress from the office of like trying to coordinate, call to this person, then a call to this person, then back to this one. Thursday doesn't work, now Tuesday at this time. And like, none of that happens anymore. It's like literally go on Calendly for that person and it's there. So at SCE, the framework is a little bit different because our host, the event host, the people that run the shows, the events, the weddings, they meet directly with the people that are considering them for their wedding. Now, there are instances of like people not being able to sell, and we have like steps to kind of correct that. But for the most part, we try to hold at least a 70% close rate or greater, and if it's not, then action has to be taken to kind of remedy the problem, whatever that may be. And whether it's just the opportunity of selling or presenting the company, I believe that people today are not gonna get even on a Zoom call until they do their own homework, whether they acknowledge it or not. So they know who they're meeting with, they know who they're considering for their day. They're going not just to the SCE Instagram, but they're going to their Instagram, they're going to do their homework.
Can I just ask, have they seen pricing before that already?
We publish pricing, starting pricing
Okay,
on
yeah.
the website.
And
So
we're the same way, and that's why 70%, so we're similar with that. We're not trying to brag with that number, but those are very qualified leads by that point. They've already gotten over, they're not, if the price is way out of their budget, they're not even gonna get on that Zoom, so.
Right, and to even make it a step further, like when they go or get an email for like an actual, you know, like for a Calendly link, like we reinforce like this person's pricing starts at here and typically ranges between here and here. So like we're trying to knock down the question of like, I don't believe that at that point in the process we lose a sale because of dollars and cents. I believe we lose the sale because of value. Like they didn't perceive the investment to be.
Or just a match.
Maybe
It's just not a personality match. Sometimes, you know, some clients interview people for you, they go, Jason's perfect. Then some people might go, Mike's perfect. Sometimes it's just and that's the esoteric thing that I'll never be able to figure out why brides choose certain people. It's just like, why do you fall in love with somebody?
Right, and everyone here has been in an event that they've done before that they're literally in the middle of the party and they're like, what, like, how am I here? Like, why am I here?
I'm not
right
the
now?
perfect guy,
Yeah,
right,
like,
right.
shit, this is terrible, sorry, Justin, sorry. But that's true, real deal stuff.
Yeah, the same with me. I mean, I think that when the lead goes to the DJ, it's already been qualified, they've already seen the pricing at this point. It's not on the website, but it's basically on a hidden page. So we'd send them the link, the lead is qualified, and then Randy that kind of runs the office basically just starts the hierarchy. You know, who's been here the longest, who's available, and just go down the list, send it to the DJ, and the DJ does the selling. I'll show you a link at the end if you're not a member of the DJS VAULT, the exact presentation that we use to sell, whether it's in person, on a screen, or on Zoom, that, you know, countless people here have used and told me they use, which is fine, I want you to, and generated millions of dollars over, you know, the years that I've been using it. I'll share it with you guys here at the end, but that's how we do selling. I had a couple of just quick one-off, like, don't give me the long answer, but just a couple things I thought that everybody would wanna know before we kind of turn it over to you guys, because I definitely want y'all to have the ability to ask questions to us. Jason and Mike, do you feel like, just as the room, right, so 2020, horrible, 2021, catch-up year, 22 was great. Do you feel like bookings are up, down this year, people are holding on to their money longer? Just give us a paragraph.
I've been saying,
Yeah.
the last year I can compare to is 2019.
Yeah.
And we're up over 2019. So that, because 2020, obviously you can't look at, 2021 was an aberration. 2020 was still kind of an aberration. So to me, this is the first normal year since 2019, and we're up from that.
So look at AB with that if you've been doing this.
That's what I mean, listen, some of you throughout the country, I know DJs in Texas, they were only shut down for like a month in 2020. So your numbers might be real for 2020. I hardly did anything in 2020.
I would echo that. I would think like as a company, we're ahead of where we were this time in 2019, because that's the only relative year. I would look at 2018 and even 2019. I think that people are holding on to their money, but I would say that people are holding on to their money because they're more educated. They're given the ability to do their homework. They're given so much access. And people will spend money, they will invest money, but they're doing their homework. So like,
So they're not economy afraid?
I don't believe that,
I don't
at least in the Northeast and Jersey specifically, I don't know about North Carolina, but I'm just saying here, like, people are, you know, they're investing and investing heavily. Like, we have multiple dates on our calendar for 25, you know, all the way to the end of 25, you know, and these are big money events that, you know, when I first started, people were like, that'll never happen in this area, no one will ever do that. And like, to this day, after the global pandemic, it's still happening. You know what I'm saying? So I think people are just the couples today are willing to invest, but they're doing their homework and they're doing their research and they know what they're getting, they know what they don't want. They've been to a million weddings that they've seen a million times before, they want something that's fresh. And I believe if you can introduce that in your language under the context of your business, I believe that there's an incredible opportunity for the business in front of you.
So going into engagement season, which I always consider, you know, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, prices gonna raise, just in general, you know, across the board. That's about the time we would go up, you know, end of the year, going into that engagement season. Those people have never seen the price in the first place. Nothing crazy, leaps and bounds, but we'll make a small incremental jump, even if it's just the a la carte stuff, which will in turn raise the package pricing. Where are you guys on that?
Dominic and I have this discussion every month. If Dominic had his way, we'd be $1,000 more than we are. And so it's a constant struggle. We will probably raise our prices going into 2024. Dominic will probably finally win that arm wrestle.
Right.
I only will raise pricing when we, like, if, let's just say there's 10 hosts at SCE, there's 12 now, right? So like all 12 hosts hit their number long before the window ends. So let's just say booking, you're considering September through February booking season, whatever. Like our bookings calendar is down right now, cause that's just the way the world is in this area, but then it like throttles up through September, October, November, second week of December it falls, January it's full throttle again, okay? So like I look at our calendar for next year and if I say, okay, the team is pretty much full, we're all in the red, that to me is an opportunity to raise pricing. But I will never raise pricing if like we have people in the green and people in the yellow, where like they have the ability of taking a lot more. If we're constantly, you know, we're turning away Saturdays in September and I only have 2 more Saturday dates with people available, that's an opportunity.
I'm gonna call you next time Dominic and I talk, because that's the exact answer I give Dominic. Look, there's still DJs open, why would we raise pricing? But
You can't do it, it doesn't make sense, because like, the thing that a lot of people don't understand is when you raise pricing, in my opinion, you raise expectations, and there's not a problem with that, but like, you have to understand, you can't get something without giving something, so people either want more time, they expect greater things, you know, the event changes, the dynamic changes between the person and the couple, every time you go up in dollars and cents, that's my personal opinion.
And by the way, one of the things I'm finding that is skewing numbers, even going back to 2019, is the one silver lining from the pandemic that we have found, and that's Thursday night weddings are so much more popular. So now, a lot of the weekends where I used to say, I've got 3 days this week to book DJs, now we kind of have 4. So that's also making sales numbers look a little different than they have in the past.
Let's open it up. So again, if you don't mind, just if you're gonna ask a question, just kind of throw your hand up, I'll point, and then just please say it loud enough because the room is full and I don't have one of those cubes that you tell us. I saw your hand go up first.
Hey, good morning. Joe Bunn from upstate New York.
I know you.
Just want to ask you guys about your CRMs and how you're communicating with your customers. I love the concept of the calendar. I use it myself, so people can choose the time that they want and when, if it's for you. What do you guys use? I'm a perfect.
Should we just play the DJ event planner ad from our podcast?
I'm sorry, I'm a DJ event planner.
I swear by DJ event planner. It does everything we want it to do and then some. So that's the only CRM that we're using.
And Eric is in the back, if you are using DJP, you gotta check out his toolkit for DJEP. And if you're not on a platform and EP is not your thing, I would look at Simple, because he's done a lot to create a new alternative, but like DJEP is what we've used, it saves hundreds of thousands of dollars over the life.
I literally send contracts from the beach.
Yes.
I do.
It is cool. It is cool.
We have 6 offices, right? So it's tough to make major business changes. We're still on DJ EP. I personally use 5.0 for the planning part. If I was younger, leaner, newer, I would be on Simple, hands down. SMPL, simplesystem.com. Just for the tech and the compatibility with crate hackers and everything else. If I didn't have so many people looking at me for what to do, I would probably start over with that. Yeah.
John Lucard from Black Tie Entertainment in the DMV.
Yep.
I caught, Mike, your seminar Monday, and there was a slide that really caught my attention. You were talking about what's changed post-pandemic and pre-pandemic. You were talking about referrals and word of mouth, but then there's that third pie chart that used to be wedding shows, but now it's social media. Would I be correct to assume that you're now dumping those dollars that went into bridal shows
You would be
into
correct to
social
assume
media?
that. We're gonna spend, I hired a social media woman last year. She takes care of most of our posts and content, and I'm probably this year gonna pay her about what I would have spent on bridal shows 10 years ago. Yeah.
In the back.
So, I guess this is for all of you guys, so your calendar's all booked out, now you have, like you said, in the red or in the yellow, all your DJs are booked, now you're raising your prices, what are you doing different to justify that price range? Are you moving people around, are you outsourcing a DJ? I'm not saying you're wrong for raising the price, I'm just trying to find out why the price is being raised.
Well, first of all, I'll disagree with Jason about one thing. Just raising prices doesn't necessarily mean higher expectations because cost of living goes up. So, I think it's natural for any company to go, hey, we've tweaked our prices a little bit this year. It's gone up a little bit. I mean, certainly doubling your price or a significant price jump, yeah, you need to justify that. But, to me, it's not even a matter of justifying it. It's you just have to make sure your sales skills are honed. Every price increase, we had a price increase right before the pandemic. So it was so hard to really judge whether it went into effect or not. But, Dominic and I both sat down and said, look, if we're gonna get this much instead of this much, we gotta sharpen our skills. I think that's way more critical than justifying a price increase.
I think when I raise a price, it's such a small increment, you know what I mean, that it's almost negligible year after year. And again, I can see as the prices have gone up over the last few years, the number of shows have gone down, but we're making more money. So it's less liability, less feet on the street, things like that. Even though I feel very confident in my DJs, there is a hierarchy, and some of the guys that have been there for 20, 25 years don't want to play every weekend anymore. They might say, Joe, book me once a month, and that's fine. So, luckily the newest people I've hired are 30, 31, 32, not quite in the kid zone yet, just got married, willing to go out there all the time. So that's kind of the people I'm looking for now.
What I would be scared of is raising your pricing and then outsourcing your service. To me, that doesn't make sense, right?
I don't like that.
I think for the people that are in the core group of what drove it into the red, right, it's supply and demand, right? Like the more dates you have available, the more you need to work, the more aggressive you might need to be with your dollars and cents to make that work. But the more, I know for myself, I can tell you, I used to do 150, 200 shows a year, every year. And after the pandemic, I want to do 50 shows a year. I want to do 60 shows a year. But my time is valuable. I'd rather be off on a Saturday night than give it away and then wish I wasn't there. I want to be excited about the events I go to. So I have no problem saying I'm not the DJ for them for that event. But if I wanted to fill my calendar and I wanted to do 200 shows a year, that's a different story. Then I know I'd probably have to adjust my dollars and cents to make that work.
Somebody over there.
Wyatt Roberts from DJ Romantics Wedding and Event Group. My question is for Jason. I'm a big fan of the production stuff you do, and I notice you bring a lot of different lighting and production stuff to each wedding, and it's always different. My question is, what does that sales process look like? Because I know you guys have your starting price, and then I'm sure there's a conversation that happens with that couple about what they're looking for.
This would make for a great topic for YouTube, RJ. I'm just putting that out there right now so I don't forget about that. RJ is recording this whole thing. I would just say that my sales process is probably very different than a lot of people because like I really just focus on the talent portion. I do not wanna sell people on the things on the initial contact. When I'm first talking to them, I don't wanna sell them on lighting, I don't wanna sell them on, cause a lot of times when people are planning a wedding specifically, they're booking a year and a half in advance, they're booking 2 years in advance. They don't know where they're gonna land. I can tell you that when I planned my wedding with Lauren, like we didn't even know what was happening until like 6 months before the wedding. We didn't know how many people were gonna be there, we didn't know who was gonna be, you know, all these different things, right? So like, for me, I like to earn their trust, I like to follow them, and I like to then have periodic meetings through the planning process where then we talk about these things once they have a better grasp of how big, how complex, what the colors are gonna be, all the things that are the decision kind of throttles for like the type of lighting that they want, the type of this that they want, the type of that. In the beginning, I think although it's possible, we did it for a long time that way, I found the contracts grow deeper, they get more complex, they get larger when you don't do it all day one and you do it periodically throughout the process when people have a better grasp. Once they book their photographer, once they book their cinematographer, once they book all the other things, then it's easier to attack some of this stuff, in my opinion.
They're just locking in the date with that initial contract.
I'll second that. We encourage our clients, book the talent, and then add on as you go. The first contract is rarely the last contract.
Yeah.
And like Jason said, it usually goes up. A $2,000 contract becomes a $3,500, becomes a $4,200 because as they get closer, and I think part of it is you go into the process having a budget, and then at some point, I'm just gonna use it because you go, fuck it, the budget's out of control, and then it's like, well, who cares, we'll add on Dancing on the Clouds or whatever. So, yeah, just get the talent booked and then worry about all the add-ons.
Let me get the guy in the hat, then Jerry, did you have one after that?
So I know that you guys differ in how you pay your guys. So I'd like to hear a little compare and contrast 1099 versus, an employee. And also, I'm a numbers cruncher. So I wanna know, hey, what's my cost of sale for, what am I earmarking for the talent? And I don't necessarily need to know your numbers, but I always look at percentages, right? Because, as the dollars move, percentages should always be in line. So what is it that you guys budget, percentage-wise, because I know we can get in trouble about talking about dollars. And, what is the benefits? I know, Mike, you're employees, and I know, Joe, you tend to be 1099.
About 50 to 60% goes to talent. That's broken down between the headliner and the assistant. Paying somebody as an employee, basically your cost is $1.22 for every dollar spent. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a 1099 guy, again, where are you, consult your accountants and consult your lawyers, please don't take my advice as Bible. I've spent money with labor lawyers, I've been audited twice, not owed a penny, but my guys are 1099, they make about 40% of the contract, and they see the contract, so if it's $3,000, they make $1,200.
SCE is a hybrid mix, so we have some relationships that are contract-based, like contractor, employment, kind of one-off, and we also have employment. And the scale for, I guess the overall percentage would be probably more in that, when all said and done, for the talent portion to be somewhere in the area of 60%. But then we also have them doing sales, so they get a percentage in addition to that. They also do management of the event, so that's in addition to that. So I think it just depends, and that's after someone's exclusively working for the business, right? So like day one, it's gonna be one thing, but we have a path to grow them to a point where they're getting that. It's not gonna be that day one, because I think I just made a video about this. It's so important that if you own a business, the company is healthy and that you're funding your business. And I think understanding your COGS, the cost of doing, your business is so important. And if you don't have a hard grasp on that cost, that's an area that you need to focus a significant amount of time into really getting down. I mean, you should know off the top of your head what you're spending and how much money you're making as a business, in this industry, or you're gonna, your days could be limited for sure.
There's a video I just posted inside the vault from Brian Bonacisi, probably one of the smartest people in the game, and he literally broke down, he started with a number, let's just call it 3,000, and broke down exactly where every dollar went. It's one of my favorite videos in the vault. So, Jerry, did you have something? Sorry.
So when it comes to posting events or anything that you're doing for content, you got the brand, you have the personal or the entertainer brand. Do you post the same snippet in both brand platforms, or do you put it in the company and then tag the entertainer, or vice versa? How do you do it? And specifically, I'm talking about TikTok, Mixcloud, and IG.
So Instagram has that collaborator feature now, which I think allows the person to post something and then it can be reshared essentially on the timeline, which I think is an ingenious option that we all have access to. So for us at SCE, we have the host posted directly on their content, tag SCE as a collaborator. We then share it to our network of whatever that is, and it also gets pushed to the SCE Facebook page. Right, so TikTok is a little bit different. Again, that's my kryptonite, and we have some people at SCE that are, as you all know, thriving in that space. Post a video, it's 5 million views in 2 days, and then our SCE TikTok account has 3 videos on it and 0 interaction, and it's just, I can't get into that so well. So I think as long as you can tie it back to the business and have a process, it doesn't matter where someone posts something. I think Instagram is the easiest to share it, and I think Mixcloud, yeah, you can do it as an individual. I've had a lot of success pushing content on Mixcloud as SCE radio features, Jason Jani, features Joe Bunn, features like that, and then pushing it out that way. And so you have the integrity of the brand, and then the people share it on their own platforms as well, and that's just my way of doing it.
I'd say the same.
I just think that the first time in history, you have these vertical content now goes across 3 platforms. YouTube Shorts, the exact same size as a Reel, it's the exact same size as a TikTok. You might as well just go for it all, you know what I mean? Because you never know what's going to pop off. Mike?
How's it going? So I have an issue that has arisen. I kind of took care of it, but I could foresee it arising again. And based that you guys are multi-ops, I think, I'd like to hear some of your experiences. So I have a multi-op company. I have some young, I don't do weddings, I do kids parties. I have younger guys that are working for me between 20 and 25. They all have their own Instagram, and in a good way, they're at my parties, all-star party. They're taking videos and stuff like that. But what happens, or could start happening, is people start direct messaging them, and they may book themselves. So I want to see if you've had experience with that. I heard you mention that you have to tag you on Instagram. I know, if someone found one of your guys on SoundCloud, what's the incentive? You give some type of monetary incentive to go through Elite and not have them book directly, find you.
I think your question is super simple. You have to just trust the people that are working with you, and you have to give them the opportunity to fly. For me, I never put someone on without doing my homework, not just on them, but I get them in our space and we try to understand their character, right? Sure, I've been burnt. I've had people take business from me. I've had people stop working for SCE and go try to do their own thing only to fail 6 months later. To me, it doesn't matter. But what does matter is you always lead by example, and I think you always do the right thing, right? So that happens in the instance of someone I want them to build a fan base. I want them to have followers. I want them to get those calls, and then for those calls to be pushed to SCE. The minute one of those calls gets basically, or it's made to your attention that call never came back to you from one of your events, is when that relationship ends. But I think if you spend your time in the beginning, making sure that you're on the same page and you're hiring the right people, then that doesn't become an issue. I want everyone to succeed, and I want people to be way more successful in social media than I am, or even Nick. I want everyone to do what Nick does times 10, and does it happen? Yes, no, I don't know. We're all in this kind of together. I think you have to spend time on the character.
Yeah, the days of having a buffer zone between you and the client and contact directly with the DJ is done. It's never coming back. So you have to embrace it, like Jason said. I want my DJs to become stars on their own. but they also understand that if somebody reaches out to them directly, go great, call this number, send them a text. They handle my schedule, and if they don't understand that, then you just got the wrong person working for you.
I think I look at more, just the dangers of it and what they're posting, in their personal lives. Like I don't wanna see somebody laying in a field tripping on shrooms and then they're trying to book weddings under one DJ company. It's just not, it's a bad look in general, I guess. I don't even know why I brought that up, but that never happened. But I'm just saying, if it did happen, I would have to have an immediate conversation or anything, racially charged, too political, too religious. Like I direct these guys, look, please, watch what you're posting because, like Jason said, like Mike said, your couples are following you. The people that may want to book you are following you. These venues, these vendors are following you. Just it's a dangerous tool. I mean, it's super useful, but it's very dangerous.
Yeah, like using the word dildo in public is.
That's on film. He says that on film. Thank you.
I think anyone that can be tied back to your business in any way, shape, or form, and that's not even like, it could be the person that's supporting an event that, is part of your portfolio. What they post on social media is an extension of you and your brand as a business. And, there's been posts where I've had to literally reach out to people and be like, take that down, now, and that sucks, but that's reality because you never know who's looking at that content, who's going from story, 1 on Saturday night, everyone full throttle at a wedding, to story, 7, which is Sunday laying in a field doing shrooms, looking at cows in North Carolina. I don't know, just saying. But that can happen because people just go down the rabbit hole and people start following. And whenever you follow someone on Instagram, those people come up and you're your top views, right? Like when you ever follow someone that you kind of regret following and then all of a sudden you're getting served all their stories and you're like, fuck, I hate this, mute or unfollow, whatever. Those people come up in the top bar right away because that's the way the platform works. Same with TikTok. You follow someone, you're gonna get served, whatever you watch, you're getting served more of whatever you watch. That's how the platform works, which is a blessing and also a curse, but you have to understand how the platform works.
Billy?
So I think between the three of you, you have 1 million 5-star reviews, is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
So how do you go about getting those reviews, and where do you think the best place for clients to leave the reviews is?
Let the goat speak first.
I still think WeddingWire is the best platform. We encourage some to do Google and also the Knot just to kind of spread out the love. But we drive most of our clients to WeddingWire. I've done a whole seminar on how to get reviews, so I don't know how much you want. And by the way, there's a podcast where I share most of it, so if you want to dig back in one of our past podcasts, kick ass, ask at the right time, and you'll get a lot.
I do think any SEO guy's going to tell you, to push them to Google as well. I don't remember if I stole. Did I steal this from you, Mike? Where if you get them to cross post it, we incentivize them. Did I steal that from somebody else?
We don't incentivize.
If I stole it from you, God bless you. But we basically, when we send out the automated email after the event, we say, hey, we'd love to get a review on one of these platforms. If you put it on all three, Google, WeddingWire, and the Knot, again, just copy and paste. We'll send you a $25 Starbucks card, and it went nuts. So I like to try and get them
That
on
would
all
cost
three.
me way too much money.
For Mike, it is, not for Joe. Hold on. Atwood, go ahead.
No, I didn't mean it like that. No, I didn't. Stop. I meant it because y'all have so many reviews.
You
and
have
y'all
bad, and I don't have
No.
bad. That's exactly.
Who heard it back? Stop it. No, I said it wrong. Atwood.
No one ever planned the unexpected, so I gotta comment, Jana, you handled my stroke amazingly, I think it's just something worthwhile for people to hear about how you handled not only dealing with someone who you don't know what his future is gonna be, but also dealing with clients and how I turned back quickly and kind of how you thought about that, and I think it's just something interesting to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a great topic for you too. Mark that down, RJ. I think, so for anyone that's not aware, last year, I got a really terrifying phone call from Chris's sister, who I've never met before, who let me know that Chris was basically he was induced into a coma because they weren't sure exactly what had happened at that point. Long story short, he had a stroke and had a bunch of stuff happen. And Chris was at my house literally right before that. We were all at a barbecue in my backyard, and he was kind of talking like he was having headaches and that kind of stuff, and it just really freaked me out. So I led with not just like compassion for Chris, but I wanted to get in front of it from a business perspective, because very quickly, like word starts to spread in those instances when you're not prepared. So first and foremost, wanted to make sure that his clients were taken care of, but at the same time wanted to make sure that Chris was taken care of. So I went into like Papa Jani mode, trying to make sure that the gear was okay and his stuff was okay, and figuring out how we could get into his phone and doing all the things that we had to do to get access to like all the things that Chris had going on. And then the second part of it was notifying, a universe of clients that were on the near horizon for him, letting them know like we didn't know what was happening at that point, but we had a plan for their event, so that as we started to then publish the GoFundMe page and share updates on Chris, that they not become terrified. So that was an instance that taught me a lot, just about like people. I think there's a lot of people even in this room that donated, to the cause and got behind supporting, the very unfortunate circumstance. And, I think that's the good thing about having, friends in the industry, like everyone was reaching out to offer their assistance, and I never ever thought I would have to deal with something like that. And it was really challenging on a number of different levels. From a personal perspective, a friend; from a business perspective, a top performer in the company. And then on top of it, like all of the other stuff that came along with it, and it was difficult for sure.
Well, guys, I want to be respectful of the time. I know there's some other seminars going on. If you didn't get to ask a question, maybe just kind of run up at the end or something and get our opinion. But again, this QR code right here, if you're not a member of the DJS VAULT, this will give you the first month free. I think if you get inside, you'll really use it as a resource. We can't thank you guys all enough, from Jason, from Mike, from myself. Thank y'all. I hope everybody got a little something from this today. Thank y'all so much.